I did work very closely with Ipuh and his mate Emmy, so they quickly became my favorite animals here at the zoo. Very interesting animals. You know, each individual rhino has its own personality and they're very distinctive, so it's really kind of fun to get to know the animals. And it's amazing how hands-on you can be with the rhinos. They are dangerous, and so you have to be aware of that, but they don't fear us, and so it makes them kind of, like you said, like big puppy dogs at times, because they like to be pet, they like to be rubbed, they like to be fed treats, of course, and some more than others. So Ipuh was a little bit more standoffish than Emmy, but we all loved Ipuh because we really respected him. He was a wild rhino, and you could tell he was a wild rhino. In 2013, we had a meeting in Singapore, and we had a lot of the field folks come in for that so that we could look at data and we could look at population estimates. And so we believe there's only probably no more than 100 Sumatran rhinos left in the wild. Almost all of those are on the island of Sumatra, and they're distributed between 3 different forests. So you're looking at some very small populations of rhinos in 3 different forests. And despite an amazing amount of work that's been done with rhino protection units that have been out there and have really minimized poaching, we don't think there's been a lot of poaching there. The population is declining very quickly, and I'm not sure we even have a handle on why it's declining so quickly. We actually noticed over a period of a couple of years that he was becoming much older. Just by the way he got around, the things that he used to do easily, and he didn't do them so easily anymore. And then really in the last couple of months before he passed away, he was clearly sick. We knew he was very lethargic. You know, he'd spent a lot of time laying down. And we didn't know exactly what was wrong with him, but you know, you just knew. It was like, okay, Ipuh's getting close to the end, unfortunately. Well, you know, this zoo has been privileged to have some pretty unique animals here over the years, and so we are of the mindset of when those animals pass away, and especially the very rare ones, we'd like for them to be used in the best way possible, even after death. And we know there's great value in their skeletons and in using them for educational purposes and research after they die. So we do partner with a number of different organizations on what to do with the animals after they pass away. And the Museum Center seemed like a great solution to this one because we love the idea of keeping him local. He'd been a part of Cincinnati for so long and made such a tremendous impact with the Sumatran rhino program. It just seemed like the right thing to do, to keep a Sumatran rhino here for the city of Cincinnati to enjoy and to learn about.
Basically, Herm Mays called me one morning and says, have you ever mounted a rhino before? Stuffed a rhino, because I've done taxidermy for years. And I said, well, I've not done a rhino, nothing that big, but I've got a friend that can really help us out with this. And that's Dave Nome of Nome's Wildlife Artistry in Union, Kentucky. And so I called him up and says, you willing to help me, you know, stuff this Sumatran rhino? And so he was into it. He was like, okay, let's try it out. They delivered it to his place the next morning after they'd done an autopsy. And we proceeded to skin it and make a mold of the carcass. We basically had to kind of do it the old-fashioned way because there are no existing forms or mannequins for a Sumatran rhino. We made a silicone mold of the horn and made a plastic cast of that. So the horn on the present mount is not the real horn. The reason being the value of that to Asian traditional medicine. I mean, you've heard about the poaching of rhinos for the horn. And so we didn't want to use the real horn on there just to safeguard the horn itself and make sure nothing was going to happen. to it. No one was going to try to hack a piece off or something like that in the future. Just the size and the weight of everything was challenging, having to deal with that. And then just the enormity. I mean, sculpting the folds into the skin to make it look realistic was a bit of a challenge, but a fun challenge. We took a lot of reference photos, or had a lot of reference photos, took a lot of measurements beforehand, and so we kind of had an idea what we were going for. And probably one of the most challenging thing was getting the color down. And so from what the keepers said and what people from the zoo have said, we were pretty close. We got it right, so that was satisfying. So I knew that the Sumatran rhino was in trouble along with the other rhinos, but I didn't know to the extent that it was in trouble. So we were glad that we could display this rhino, and just make the public more aware of the Sumatran rhino's plight, as well as other species around the world and the problems that are going on with extinction.
Any way we can motivate people, politicians, whomever is out there that can offer a helping hand, if we can motivate them to do something to help save this species, it's going to continue that legacy. And clearly we've been able to do a lot in bringing attention to the species by what we've done here at the Cincinnati Zoo, and now the Museum Center has an opportunity to do the same through their programs there, and by having him on display and the story out there for people to continue to read about as time goes on.